First of all, thank you everyone for joining. Monday afternoon, I figured it was a reasonable time to sort of do a run through, get the madness of Monday out of the way first. The way that we'll do this is Justin's going to do a run through, sort of a bit of an overview of the product, sort of the whys and wherefores, try and give you some insight into why CallSwitch as a platform. Kieran's going to then sort of seamlessly dovetail into a demo. So we'll get into the software, how it operates, what it looks like from a user point of view. And then you'll come back to me for commercials and a sort of wrap up. Possibly looking at about 90 minutes for all of this. If we run over, then we run over. Please raise your hand if you've got questions, and we'll do our best to answer these along the way. This is absolutely a first look. Very happy to do follow-up sessions. What's really nice about working with Telco Switch is they're hugely supportive of the channel. They're a channel-only concept, so it's lifeblood for them. So they'll help with anything that you need via us. Okay. So at this point, I'll hand over to Justin. Justin Blaine, take it away.
Thanks, Adam. Good afternoon, all. Justin Blaine from Telco Switch. I'm one of the channel managers here. So first of all, I'll just tell you a little bit more about Telco Switch as an organisation. I'm sure some of you on the call have heard of us. We're about £12 million as an organisation. We've been going about 5 years as a company. The platform's been hugely successful, and we've seen a huge amount of growth over the last sort of 2 years, 2.5 years. There's probably a huge reason of COVID for that as well, with people adopting remote working and so on, and unified communications. But we have about 110,000 extensions on our platform. And as Adam mentioned quite rightly, that we are partner centric, and obviously very pleased and delighted to be partnering with Zest4 moving forward. So we can make this as interactive as you like. Any questions, any queries, if you want to raise your hand at any time, no problem with that. And myself and Kieran can cover that off for you. So first of all, so let me tell you a little about CallSwitch. So CallSwitch is a highly successful platform, as I've mentioned, with 110,000 extensions. We are housed in 2 separate data centres. We're in London Volta and Telehouse North, and we're always developing the platform to add new features, new functionality, and to ensure the core network is resilient and stable as possible. So we're doing more and more work on that and adding further data centers. And you've probably heard about Telco Switch in the channel making some many purchases this year. So we've made 3 separate acquisitions, the latest one being SureVoIP, which will add into our network infrastructure. So another data center in London, Telehouse East, and a data center also in Scotland. So the CallSwitch platform, I think, first of all, for our partners, and certainly for you guys as Zest partners, is really fully encompassing. And what I mean by that is it comes with really everything as a standard offering. So where other vendors are out there and they're saying, Teams integration is £3.50 and CRM integration is a separate price and so on like that, the Telco Switch platform through Zest4 is giving you the opportunity to consume licenses and on a per seat basis, really with everything included. So let me just run through, first of all, what comes included on a per seat basis. We give you 2,000 minutes to 01, 02 and 03 numbers as standard. We also give you 2,000 minutes to the main mobile carriers, so that's 07 numbers, so 02, EE, Voda and 3. And the reason I mention about those particular carriers is because there's some sort of spurious networks out there like a mobile and Labara mobile, which we don't cover within those minutes. Those minutes, importantly, are pulled across the seats. So to keep that easy, if you had 10 seats on a customer's build, then basically you would get 20,000 minutes of each. And those minutes are now shared across the seats. So it doesn't matter whether one seat does over their 2,000 minutes, let's say on the mobile calls, you don't get penalised in any way. So they're shared across all of the customer seats. We also give you 90-day call recording as standard. So effectively all that happens after the 90 days is those call recordings start to overwrite. But if your customer wants to keep those recordings for longer, then what you are able to do is you can fire them off to, let's say, an FTP server or something like Dropbox, so they can refer to them at a later date. And I'll also tell you a bit more about our other call recording solution, which is MiFID II and FCA compliant later on in the presentation. We also include CRM integration as standard. So I think it's 9 different CRM solutions that we integrate into. So things like Salesforce. And we also actually enter the call record actually into Salesforce as well. So you can see whether it was an inbound or an outbound call under that customer record. We also give you a desktop application and a mobile application. So that's our UC. And you'll see as we do the presentation a little bit later, you'll see that UC client firstly is very user friendly. So even the most technophobic person, if they can use drag and drop technology, then they can use our UC. And the mobile client as well gives you exactly the same experience as the desktop. So that the great thing is there that if you're using the mobile application, you don't have to learn something new. And it's got a whole host of features. And I think most importantly, those applications are very stable. And I do hear some horror stories from other vendors in the industry, but ours are very, very stable. And just to top off, basically, we also offer you Teams integration as standard. So we have built our own direct routing to Teams. So we also deliver that as a standard offering. So hopefully you'll agree that the whole encompassing seat price that we'll come to a little bit later, including all those applications, basically is really cost effective and compelling, not only for you, but enabling you to offer great margin or make great margin when selling to end customers. So the CallSwitch platform, basically, this is what it looks like. Let's say we're going to show you this live as we move on, basically, and you'll see all these great features and applications that we have, and it looks really nice, I think, as an enterprise sort of product, but really at a very cost-effective price. So it's all plug and play. We work with iOS, Android devices, Mac, as well as Windows. And again, just to reiterate, these are really feature rich and very stable as applications as well. So what we demonstrate here, basically, regardless of the device that you want to use, whether that's a piece of plastic like a Yealink phone sitting on your desk, desktop application or mobile application, it's really all seamless integration between all of those devices. So what we're talking about here with Zest4 is basically we have partnered up to offer you the CallSwitch business license, which is the one I've mentioned with all the different applications come as standard in your per seat price. And as I say, the applications themselves are just, they look fantastic, very easy to use, but can be used in conjunction with hardware. So this is really what you get as standard. We'd have a whole host of features as you'd expect us to have. We are effectively a telephone system, but we add lots of value with the telephone system in being able to give you that soft mobile client, LDAP sort of directory services, so your customers can have all their contacts, suppliers and customers within the telephone system itself. Messaging, which again we'll show you as we move through the presentation and demonstration. Hot desking application. So these are all the sort of things that you'd expect. Probably, if they're using some of these feature set on their existing, say, on-premise solution, so the PBX, basically these are some of the things that necessarily they don't want to lose when moving to cloud infrastructure. So, we're trying to deliver as much of that functionality that maybe they already have and utilize basically with our cloud hosted solution. So we give you voicemail and voicemail to email, and we also transcript that voice as well. So we turn it from a voice message to a text message within the voicemail to email message, which again we'll show you. Queuing and parking, standard features on our platform. So some of these features as well that you may find with other vendors that they're charging you an additional cost for. These are just standard features on the Telco Switch platform. So call recording, as I've mentioned, CRM integration, Teams integration, screen share through our video application, IVR, auto attendant capability, compliance, again, I'll talk to you a bit more about, the inclusive call bundles, and obviously secure admin portal access. And that, I think that's, again, very important that you can nail down the portal even for your customer to access certain features and functionality. So for argument's sake, if you only wanted your customer to look at reports, but you didn't want them to be able to change things like IVR, call queues, basically we can just give them access to reports. So even very flexible on portal access as well. Just bear with me. laptop as locked. That's great. He's live. I think that's. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Your mouse is moving, matey, but it's
yeah.
Your presentation's still there.
Let me just
give it a kick.
Yeah, let me just try that. Just bear with me, guys. Sorry. Typical, isn't it?
We'll just get Kieran to open his.
Do you forget to fill it up this morning, Justin?
Yeah, well, it's pretty hard to fill up at the moment, isn't it? Let's try again. Okay. Hey, there we go. Not broken forever. Okay, so yeah, moving on. So the business license that I've already mentioned gives you all that sort of standard business functionality. And then we have a contact center version as well. So we have licensing available on a per seat basis for contact center. So this is just a voice orientated contact center solution. I'll talk to you a little bit more about roadmap as we move through this. So all the usual features as you'd expect, you know, without going over all of these again, but we do offer other things like intelligent call queuing, wallboard and analytics and more statistics, obviously drilled down for, you know, looking at things like staffing levels, busy periods, you know, agent calling inbound, outbound, you know, exactly what they're doing. Why they're on particular breaks, whether that's lunch and so on like that. So all the usual contact center functionality and reporting is available within CallSwitch as standard. And this just shows you a little bit more as regards to what an agent looks like. So it almost gives you the same experience as the business license, but basically we have a different agent view. So basically they can, you know, still link into CRM and all those kind of things, and basically a different supervisor view. Typically, so the supervisor can see things like a live wallboard, the agent status, force them into sort of different statuses, all the stuff that you'd be used to in the sort of the on-premise PBX world. So we have that capability as well within the CallSwitch solution. And it doesn't like that when I move that, I think. That's what that is. Sorry, guys, it is. It doesn't like that at all. So I'm going to just have to redo that again. Let's try this. As soon as I move that Teams window, it doesn't like it, so I'll leave it alone in the middle of the screen here. So this is where we have two different screenshots really here. So this is the screenshot to do with the actual supervisor status within CallSwitch as a platform. Then this is actually a web wallboard, so you can build these different web wallboards for the different filters and screens that your customer will want to see. So whether it's reporting on agents, inbound, outbound, thresholds of calls being hit, that type of thing. So again, very flexible basically as regards to what your customers may want to see in the contact center environment. And of course, we give you things like real-time analytics. So, you know, you can staff by exception with regards to, you know, your busy periods and those kind of things. And even have emailed reports. So, you know, if you want to look at historic data, you know, I could build a report back end on the platform that gives me certain information and that gets emailed to me. And maybe let's say Adam wants to see something completely different from the contact center environment reporting. So we build a report and have that automatically emailed to him. So again, usual features that you'd expect. So the CRM integrations that we support are here. These are all standard. We're not charging anything extra for these integrations, and the level of integration that we do go to will give you the actual call recording attached to the report within the CRM system, and it will also give you the call history, inbound and outbound, and duration of the call basically as part of that CRM integration. So slightly deeper than just, you know, click to dial and screen popping. So this is, we'll show you this anyway live, but basically this is the desktop application. Really good front end user experience. I mean, to give you an example, I mean, I'm sitting here at home. I have a mobile application, I have a desktop application, and I actually have a Yealink T54W handset sitting on my desk. I never ever touch the handset. And the reason I don't is because this UC application is just so intuitive, so easy to use, and has really all the functionality at the click of a mouse. We are compatible with most hardware. I mean, if you've got some spurious hardware out there, or something that's a little bit bespoke to the customer, maybe they've taken it off an old PBX and it's an old SIP handset or something. Not saying that you can't use it. The idea really is to give your customers a technology refresh, but we do recognize that you have customers that may be moving from one cloud platform to another for various reasons, and they've invested a lot of money on the hardware they've got on a desktop. So we do support these devices as standard. If it's any other device, then obviously talk to Zest. Most hardware is supported by us, and it can be done on a generic setting back on the CallSwitch platform, but may not just give you all the functionality right down to being able to program things like the busy lamp fields and so on from the portal itself. But again, if any questions and queries as regards to that, talk to Zest, and obviously Telco Switch will back them on what we can and what we can't do. Yealink by far is definitely our dominant device. The main reason for that, I think, is we've done a lot of work with Yealink over the years, and we've even done what we call touchless provisioning. So that means that if you're pulling a Yealink device from somebody else's platform, you put it on our platform. We've built an API link across from us to Yealink. So we communicate to the Yealink provisioning server where the device is now sitting to actually get all the provisioning settings on the handset itself. So it is our dominant device, but of course we're fairly generic as well. Teams integration, as we're using today, I mean, I've got a demo of Teams that I use for partners and so on. I don't tend to use Teams myself personally, and that's down to my own preference. But I think you'll probably see a bit of a difference between the Teams interface for telephony and our UC at desktop level. Certainly, we're a lot more functional. We look, I believe, nicer. Easier to use, and as I say, all the features of the telephone system and there are really at the click of a mouse, so it makes it very, very simple. But yeah, of course we support Teams, and we're not daft enough to think that basically people are not looking at Teams integration and wanting that. So of course we do support it. So we have sorry, go on, Adam.
Just on that, for everyone on the call, where I think it really helps is it's a bit of a Trojan horse. So much like with other products like 8x8, it's the same deal. It will get you in the door, even if the customer then doesn't need the integration. Ultimately, by not having it puts you out in the cold. Whereas when you've got it as standard in the product, it just knocks over that barrier. So even if they end up not doing it, and I'll tell you why they probably won't do it, is because you've got to pay for a telco license from Microsoft, which will set you back somewhere around £9 for doing not very much. So often they decide in the end, we don't really need it. But we've done a few where, they do, and it goes through. And if you didn't have it in the locker, you wouldn't get the deal.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I agree with that. I end up doing a lot of presentations for partners to end customers and so on. And initially, the discussion is all based around Teams. So you're absolutely right, Adam. That's the door opener, if you like. And then effectively from there, once I start to show them, the interface of our UC, the desktop application, how it works, what it does, and then the same sort of user experience on the mobile application, the conversation around Teams sort of disseminates a little bit. And not to say that they still won't use Teams for the collaboration piece of within their organization, but the telephony piece sometimes, not always, but sometimes tends to go away because they just see that our interface is just so much stronger as an application. So yeah, 100% agree. The great thing is that it's free from us, so there's no additional charge on top of your Microsoft license and on top of your Office 365 license. So it's cost effective, it gets you in the door, and obviously if it carries on with the Teams integration, that's fine. We support it, so no problem whatsoever. So you can also use this direct routing, so you can also use this as a SIP trunk to Teams as well. So we have sort of the two offerings. Either we link at sort of desktop Office 365 level, or basically you can use this as a SIP trunk to Teams, and then you get all of this feature set here, like the intelligent call routing, the IVRs, the auto attendant ungroups. Use all the features of the CallSwitch platform, but effectively you're just using Teams front end as an interface or a GUI. So again, this is just showing you how we do our direct routing, basically. But if you've got any questions around us, the Microsoft 365 offering, we have battle cards for Teams and all that kind of stuff, which Zest obviously have access to. So all of these different things, basically, we can help you with. And certainly the guys at Zest can do exactly the same. So we have another product that falls under the Telco Switch group, which is called Atmos. Atmos is much more than just a call recording solution. Basically, it is a PCI DSS MiFID II FCA compliant call recording solution. It also has things like artificial intelligence built into it. So these are things that, the option of your customers, let's say if they're FCA regulated as an organization, may need to keep their recordings for 7 years. They may need to be compliant for things like taking credit card details. So effectively, you can't actually access the credit card details as the customer's speaking those details to you, or entering them via a telephone keypad. Basically, this is our encrypted solution. I say it does a lot more than just call recording and meeting with those sort of compliance side of things. So we have MiFID II compliance, transcription, screen capture, Microsoft Teams recording, totally encrypted, can be used in a court of law, all the usual stuff that you'd expect. The PCI and DSS redaction, so basically taking those credit card details, you'll see there that what we've done there is locked. This call here has been recorded. All of the call basically is captured. But what we do is go and redact the call, and automatically from the call recording solution, basically we cover over and lock where maybe the customers put the digits, or either type the digits in or said the digits over the telephone conversation for you to take a payment. We also give you things like artificial intelligence, or it can offer artificial intelligence. So what it can do is it could, let's say, I don't know, you could be an insurance brokers, and basically in the renewals team, basically me as an agent maybe getting more cancellations than a colleague. So it could be that, a training and monitoring thing to do with me as an agent within the call center. So basically what it would look at is the positivity of the call. It will transcript the call. It will look at how the call flow has gone, in the fact whether it's positive, negative, male, female. And it may just, throw up sort of highlights as regards to maybe I need more training, I need to handle some of those objections better. Or, it just gives you the capability of being just much more than just a normal call recording solution. So, it's delivering all of these sort of insights and statistics, basically, where my supervisor can monitor exactly what I'm doing, and how I'm comparing to the rest of my colleagues at a performance level. We also have this whole solution as well, which is compliant with Teams. So the guys at Atmos do fall under the CallSwitch banner. So they are part of the Telco Switch group of companies. They do work very much alone, as in delivering solutions for things like Teams and someone like that, and win lots of awards worldwide. So we can deliver these solutions, and it could even be that you've got an on-premise solution that a customer isn't churning their via telephone system at the moment, but they do need compliance. This is something we could actually overlay with that telephone system that's already on premise. So, there is an opportunity still to talk to us. If you're just trying to get, let's say, that first foot into that customer, and maybe you want to overlay their existing system with some kind of call recording solution, meet with compliance, and once you've got that in there, there's an opportunity maybe within the next 6, 12, 18 months to churn the telephony to a cloud solution where obviously you've got your main foot in the door, and they're going to come back to you when they're looking to do that. Adam, are you still okay for me to carry on with the commercial side?
By all means, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, I didn't want to tread on your toes, that was all. So commercials wise, basically we offer two different versions of this. So the first one is software only at £5.95. So what that means, it comes with all the minutes, the call recording, the CRM integration, all the other stuff that I've mentioned as standard. Comes with the desktop application and the mobile application, and that's what we mean by software only. So you don't lose any functionality by buying it software only. It just means it's not coming with a piece of plastic, not coming with that phone on your desktop. As soon as you want to move to hardware included, basically the contract becomes a 36-month contract. And basically you can choose a piece of hardware that comes as standard, so something like a Yealink DECT or a standard Yealink phone that sits on the desk, but you do have the option to upgrade these devices. So for argument's sake, if your customer, wanted a fully screened phone, fully color screened phone, that's maybe Wi-Fi enabled and Bluetooth enabled, then basically, we could give them an upgrade to that device for a one-off cost as well. So let's just reiterate why partner with Zest and why partner with Zest for CallSwitch. First of all, I think once you see what myself and Kieran are going to show you in a little while, basically, I think it looks fantastic. We don't lose deals when putting this in front of a customer. It looks so, its differentiator is what it looks like at a desktop level, its functionality, and I think what it comes with as standard. It is very low cost, so it's very, very cost effective for you as a partner. Feature rich, we have a whole host of features that I've already mentioned that come bundled as standard. Teams integration being free of charge is, I think again a USP, where many other vendors are charging extra for that. Call recording, I know with a lot of other providers is chargeable. The other side of things is we're UK focused, so basically partner centric. We're not your competitor. You're never going to meet us at the point of sale. We're just there to support you, and obviously through Zest as an organisation. We've got the PCI capability plugin, which obviously does cost extra, but lots of people haven't even got that offering really as a capability. A call center upgrade path, you can go from the business license, as I mentioned, to the contact center. And one other thing I'm just going to mention here as well, I said that Telco Switch sort of have an all-encompassing proposition for our partners. And basically the first thing that I'd like to mention is, we're in a sort of a very diverse world at the moment where we're using lots of different technology to communicate with our customers and suppliers and so on, and whether that's SMS, text, WhatsApp, social media and so on like that. So we like to think that basically we continue developing the platform in-house. One thing to mention is we're 110 staff in the UK, so you can see over that 5-year window that Telco Switch was born into, we have grown significantly and obviously put a lot of investment into the platform and its development moving forward. So we have the next journey that we're going to take you on through Zest is omni-channel contact center. So we have a really cost-effective solution on Omni. It's just being integrated into our platform now as we speak. We launched it at MyCAS a few months ago, beginning of July. So we will now be able to give you the capability to take your customer on a journey to go from business license to contact center to omni-channel contact center with all the capability of an omni-channel contact center solution. So we will deliver WhatsApp, SMS, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter integration, chat, and fully open APIs to integrate with things like payment solutions and so on like that, all at one really competitive cost, which Adam will share once we've fully launched, and the guys at Zest. So the great thing there, if your customer now starts in the journey with you as a partner for a business license, and then they grow potentially to contact center, it's voice orientated, but certainly I feel that Omni is going to become more and more pertinent regardless of the size of organization. It's important for us to be out on social media, maybe doing a digital marketing campaign to attract customers, somebody likes a post on Facebook, and immediately we react to that like to say thanks for liking our post. Is there anything we can help you with? So you strike while the iron's hot. And it's no good doing that, in 24 hours time. You've got to do it when that person's liked that post. Likewise, if somebody is saying something about your organization on Twitter, it's important to react to that. And particularly if it's negative, to actually react to it, take it from a public conversation to a direct message. So, thank you for your response. Basically, would you like to DM us? Direct message us, take it out the public domain, resolve that customer's query to satisfaction. And basically, so it's important for us as an organization and every organization moving forward, basically, to be able to recognize what's going on in the outside world and actually react to it very quickly. So Omni is coming imminently. It's there, it's deliverable as a product now. We're just doing some finite integration to our platform. So you can have as few as 5 omni-channel users on the platform. So just 5 users is all you need for omni-channel offering. And then you can have CallSwitch users or contact center users outside of that, basically. So we're just building all that integration to work together so you can see the presence and all those kind of nice things. So that's coming very shortly.
Thanks, Justin. So just adding on to that as well, because Justin's far too polite to say it, but most of you that know me know that I'm not. This, for me, is something of a gamma replacement. So when you're speaking to customers who are coming to the end of their current Horizon offering, it's a bit of a sticky patch, for them to upgrade. It's not a clear upgrade path. It's not as cash rich when they come to that point. I think this slots in really nicely into those opportunities, and it's a better product, frankly, than the Horizon basic product. So look out for those opportunities. The other thing that's really nice is that the license isn't tied to the instance. So as you build up your portfolio and you're bringing on multiple customers, if that customer changes their need or downsizes, you're not at risk because you can just recycle the licenses in another instance. Okay, so that's a difference to things like 8x8 where it's quite static and quite difficult to downgrade. And then obviously in terms of the upgrade path that Justin touched on, that was really exciting for me, and why one of the big things bringing it into the Zest portfolio is that you can start small and then upscale. So quite right, when they want omni-channel, when they want PCI compliant call recording, it's an easy path, but it's not an expensive path. We've seen with some of the other products out there, it just gets a bit tasty when you start adding in 100 contact center seats. It's quite a big cost, and this really isn't. So we'll do another session on omni-channel. I didn't really want to touch on it too much today. So we really just want to look at the phone system for now. So what we'll do, Kieran, if hopefully you're still available.
I'm still here.
Brilliant. Can you take everyone through what the user experience looks like, and then a little bit of back end? I don't want to go, fully bonnet up, changing the oil, but let's do a little bit of back end, but mainly what the user experience looks like, please.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Bear with me just 2 ticks while I share my screen.
And Justin, that was brilliant. Thank you.
More than welcome. No problem at all.
You have a cup of tea. Have a rest.
Yeah, thank you, Justin.
You're welcome.
So can everybody see my screen, just to double check before I start chatting? Great. So like Justin said earlier on in the presentation, we are, it's fundamentally a software business. I'm going to show you software today, fundamentally because it's much easier to show you the software than it is to wave a phone in front of a camera, which doesn't really prove anything to you. But like Justin said, we primarily, Yealink is our favorite handset manufacturer, although there are a plethora of others which we also support as well. And it is an open platform. So if you have an opportunity to integrate something like a door entry system with the platform, then, things like Paxton and 2N will be compatible and can work. So we are quite easygoing like that. So on the right-hand side, we've got my desktop communicator app. You should probably all notice I'm using Windows. There is a version for Mac as well. And on the left-hand side, we've got a mirror of my mobile screen there. And you'll probably notice my mobile is an iPhone, but there's also an app for Android as well. When it comes to rolling users out, it's really quite simple. I'll show you in the back-end portal a little bit later on. But basically what they'll do is there'll be an email sent out to that end user. They'll download the app if they were downloading the app for the mobile from the App Store. And basically from within the app, you can scan a QR code, which has got your credentials within that email, and it will auto configure for them then. With a desktop app, you then download that, pop your email address and the password in you set on the mobile, and then you're away. And also there is an MSI copy for if you're deploying the desktop apps for things like group policy or what have you. So what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm just going to put a call into the system and just show you how easy it is to sort of move calls around on the platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call in now and I'm going to pick up on the mobile. It goes to plan. Give me a second. So what I've done is I've called in just then. I picked up on the mobile. It's showing also on the desktop app, as you can see there, just because they're effectively twinned together. Because I've got call recording on, it's also notifying me that on the mobile as well. So it's displaying my mobile number, which I called in on, and it's also got a caller ID tag there, which I've left on my inbound number, which are useful for a number of reasons, which we can cover off in more detail if anybody's interested. So from here, I picked up the mobile call. Obviously, at the moment, I'm in the office. I'm on Wi-Fi. If I wanted to walk out to the office or what have you, or carry on that conversation on the way home in an evening, then I can do that. It will just seamlessly transfer off the Wi-Fi onto 3 or 4G network. And there's obviously a split second while the audio reconnects, but the call fundamentally stays connected. So there's no more of those awkward situations when you walk out of the office or you get up from your desktop to go make a cup of coffee, or need to get on the road and carry on that conversation with that important customer where you go, hang on a minute, I'll tell you what, I'll just call you back on your mobile. You try and call them back and you've missed that window of opportunity because, for whatever reason. So from on the mobile app, you can see you've got all your sort of standard options there, mute, speaker, hold, dial pad, etc. But if I want to press invite at the bottom there, you can see then what that does is that brings up the internal directory. So what I can do here is I can just set up an instant conference call if I wanted to. And if I, for example, you can just search the internal directory here by name, which makes things nice and easy. So you can see that I can search Justin. If I press that button there, I can then invite him in, and then that will set up an instant conference there. You can do the same by bringing in someone from your contacts there from an external perspective. Just going to go back there. Let's say I've just got back to my desk. I finished making my cup of coffee, and I just want to transfer it to my desk phone or my desktop communicator app. All I do is I press the options button down the bottom, press switch device. I'm just going to press soft phone and I'm going to press OK. And you'll see there seamlessly, I'm going to press answer, and that seamlessly transferred the call to my desktop communicator. So it's nice and easy. As Adam said, it's a really, it's quite a polished system. You can see the design language between the two applications is very similar. You can also organize like I have on the mobile communicator. You can have that as a nice grid view, like on the desktop, or vice versa on the desktop. It's just down to individual user preference. So I wanted to have the desktop communicator in a sort of a slightly neater fashion, perhaps on the right hand side, sort of squished over there. Then I can do that. Personally, I prefer the view on the mobile as a list view, and then the view on the desktop as the grid view. But that's just it's just personal preference. It's just about giving customers and people choice about where they answer the phone. Like the integration with Teams, it's just about we're not here to mandate how people communicate. We're here to make it as easy as possible. So got the call on my desktop there, and you notice the standard call recording, which is included within the system, is included for 90 days. Thereafter, we integrate with a couple of standard options like AWS, Google, Amazon, and Dropbox, to name a few. Thereafter, like Justin said, we do have a compliant call recording company for sort of those more important calls that either need to be encrypted or evidenced in court, or if you want to do any of that AI analytics. So there's the two options there, basically. I want to transfer this call to someone within the business. Obviously, at the moment, we've got the internal directory up. I can filter by departments here, so I want to filter by the sales team, and then further, if I wanted to then filter by Justin or find him, I can then just search for him, and you can see I want to transfer this. All I'm going to do is just drag this call across, and you can see if I hover over the left-hand side of his avatar, it will do a blind call transfer, which is just whereby the call comes in, and I'll just dump it on Justin just as though they'd called him directly. And the right-hand side, it will do an attended transfer, which is obviously the politer option. Equally, if I'm on the call and I want to get some commercial governance from Justin, for want of a better expression, and I want to conference him in, I can just drag him in and I'll just drop him there, and you can see then I've set up an instant conference call. I'm just going to stop that ringing him, but I can start that again by pressing that button there, and then if he joined, I'd be able to mute or remove him from there. So it's quite easy. We've actually assisted winning quite a few deals off this. So a lot of systems, I've been advised that you can't actually set up more than a 2 or 3 way instant conference call. So we've had some interesting opportunities working for government for translation services for, say, for example, if someone is in custody and they need a translator. These translation companies, what they do is they keep a lot of people on on like a retainer, and they'll call through a list of translators very quickly to find someone that can translate the right language. So we won quite a large tender for that, which is quite interesting. Equally, if you need to bring someone in externally, we can search through the external directories here. So it will integrate with Outlook, Google, CRM system, and then the central phone book. So then we can find an external contact. And again, I can just drag someone in there, and you can see then instantly starts calling an external contact. I'll support up to about 250 concurrent calls, something like that. Wouldn't recommend it. It might be a bit of a nightmare trying to manage, but it is there, and it's nice and easy to do, as you can see. And you can still, from there, if you want to, you can transfer that back to another phone, one of your other devices if you want to. Okay, I'm just going to hang up that call now. Give me just a second. So like on the desktop, you can see on the mobile communicator, if I click more in the bottom right hand corner, you've got a little useful little dashboard here. It tells you how many calls you made and received today. You can change things like your caller ID, you can block your caller ID, or you can even choose them there. So if I wanted to change my caller ID before I call out, I can select that there. Just like on the desktop communicator, if I just bring up my phone icon there, I want to present a different caller ID because we're getting towards the end of the sales month and I want to call somebody that I think perhaps is avoiding me. I might display my mobile number rather than my work number for whatever reason. That's just a second. Also, as you can see on the mobile app, you've got your voicemail there, so you can do visual voicemail. You see I've got a message from Paula. If I click the button at the top, it will just immediately call her back. I can play the message through at the bottom. Same on the desktop communicator there. So click up, bring up voicemail. Click on that. I'll just skip it through to the end now. When you get to the end, there's another couple of nice options there. Main one I like here is quite neat is the call the person back who left a message. Just like on the mobile, it's just really easy. There's no sort of scrambling around trying to write down or get a pen and paper or copy and paste a number into a system to be able to call it back. You simply press OK and it will dial Paula back straight away. Just going to go back to the directory there on the mobile. There's also chat functionality on the system, which is built in. So, for example, if I wanted to, Justin was on the phone, he's not at the moment, I can see he's available from there. But if I wanted to have a quick chat with Justin, I can open up that window, I can just press that and say, go through and have a chat with him. If I want to ask for his attention, then I can right click on Justin and send him a nudge. If he accepts that, we'll open up the chat window. It's very useful when people are on the phone or if you're using in coaching scenarios. So it's just to go back to the main directory. So, for example, if I was going to be coaching Adam as an example, I could ask for his attention, open up a chat window with him, say, hey, Adam, I'm going to be listening in on your calls today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of coaching because perhaps, via chat and then with me listening in would be a little bit less distracting than me actually jumping in and whispering in his ear. But you can do that as well. And all I do is then I right click. And if I've got the right permissions set, I click on call monitor and then I'll be able to listen in on Adam's calls there. So again, another nice little bit of standard functionality that's included in the platform. As you can see, there's a lot of other options here. So if I wanted to call Adam, I get the options of where I'm going to call him. I've got to call him on his extension, on his mobile, etc., where I'm calling him from. We've got start an instant meeting. We can do a point-to-point video call. Call on available is a particular favorite of mine. This is really quite useful. So let's say I need to have a chat with Gaz, who's one of our engineers. If I click on his phone, it reminds me that he's busy at the moment because he's on the phone. So I could call now anyway and be rude, which I won't do. I could leave him a voicemail or I could do call on available. So what that does is as soon as he comes off the phone, the system will pop up a little notification and tell me that he's available. And it's just about when everyone's in those sort of remote working environments, it's a good opportunity to be able to sort of jump on that moment when he's free. Which some of the tech team certainly don't thank me for that, but I can jump on and get in touch with them when I've got a free moment or they've got a free moment. Moving along the top here, we've got the phone icons. We've covered that. At the moment, I've just set my internal presence to say I'm on a demo. That's just really about telling the internal business what I'm up to, so they don't disturb me. But if I press DND here, it'll DND my handset, as well at the same time, and you can see that synced across to the mobile there on the top left. See the little bell icon there, and I can take it off there on the mobile, and it will sync across all of your devices, including desk phones as well. Just going to turn that off a second. You've got conference bridges here. So on top of the standard instant conferences that I just showed you a couple of moments ago, there's fully fledged conference phone suite, and you can control when people come into the conference. If they have to record their name, if they have to enter a password, you can hang it off the back of an IVR or a DDI or what have you. You've also got the meetings. So as standard, there is a meeting system included with the platform. You can schedule a meeting from here. So if, for example, if we're going to schedule a Monday morning sales meeting, you go in and then add the various users internally. If you've got external users, you press the email and then add them in there. That as standard, we give it away for free. It's included. It will support up to 3 participants and a 45-minute meeting, and then there's a small extra if you want the fully fledged meeting functionality. The main reason for this above standard meetings is basically all of the video processing is done in the cloud. So some of the free meeting platforms you might be used to using aren't as good as quality because basically they're being done by the endpoint as in your laptop. We've got the chat functionality here, which syncs across both devices. So you see on the mobile there, it's also synced across there. We've got the self-care portal, which I'll just cover off lightly. This is also available on the mobile, and you don't have to access this to the communicator. You can log on to this through a web browser as well. It's quite useful, so gives you the opportunity to change your password, PIN, etc. So that little dashboard I showed you on the mobile there shows you what devices you've got connected. Voicemail and directory are fairly obvious. CDR is just about the calls that you've made and not made, and it's filtered by your user. So you can see I was having a chat with, that wasn't answered. There you go. See, I was having a chat with Justin earlier on today. Now, if you've got the standard call recording included on this for free, and I wanted to go back and review that call and just listen to it because I'd forgot to pay particular bit of attention, or I hadn't written on my notes of my call with Justin, then I can go back and actually I can listen to that call from here, which is quite a useful bit of functionality. From here, we can also give end users access to sort of manage themselves on the system. So, for example, if you want to, you can give people permissions to access all of this, or very little of it. It's very granular in terms of the permissions you can give people. So, for example, under call monitoring there at the bottom, if I press edit there, you can see who I can call monitor, what access I've got to do that. It's really quite easy, as you can see. So at the moment, I've got it set up. I can whisper to this extension. Now I've got access granted, but if I wanted to change that, I could change that to pin access control. And you can configure this, so you can either configure this for users, or you can configure it on it can be configured, from allow them to configure it for themselves, or you can configure it. It's completely up to you. That makes sense. We've got a nice little favorites tab along the bottom here. Just allows you to add a couple of favorites for the speed dial purposes, I guess. As you can see there, Gaz has come available now. So that was the call on available I was showing you. So if I wanted to return that call, I'd press yes. I'm just going to press no and not disturb him. Another nice little one is if you want to catch up with someone who's not in the office very often, you can also right click and you can do call when user logs on. So when a user logs onto the system, it'll give you that same sort of functionality. It'll pop up and notify you. And you can have the system notify you about that anyway if you want. And then pretty self-explanatory, you've got call history. Now, there's lots and lots of other sort of functionality within here. You can send, say, for example, you can send fax from the system and you can receive it on the system as well. I'll just show you quickly what a voicemail looks like, assuming I haven't sent everybody to sleep with telephony. So we use Gmail for our emails. As you can see, I've got a voicemail through on my Gmail email address because we've got click to dial plugins for every web browser. The system recognizes that this is a phone number and it's popped the CallSwitch logo next to it. So I want to return the call to that person. I can click on that there. So that would be exactly the same as if I'd opened up my Salesforce account and I was looking at contact within Salesforce, or even looking for somewhere to book for lunch on Google Maps. You go and find a restaurant, you can see the number there. It will pop the little CallSwitch logo next to the number. And you see further down, there's a transcription courtesy of Google. which is pretty accurate. It's not quite as accurate as the core cabinet stuff, but for the purposes of being able to scan through your emails quickly and work out which messages are a priority to return, they're pretty good. Most of the time, it's in this instance, obviously, it's an example one. It's got my name right. Occasionally, it calls me Karen, but it's pretty good. And then at the bottom of the message there's a MP3 attachment if you want to listen to that there. Did you say, Adam, you wanted to have a quick whiz through the back end?
Yeah, I think that's useful for the benefit of the audience. A couple of bits to add to what you were talking about. Apologies if I'm overlapping here, but one of the things I like, guys, and I know a lot of you have asked me about this, is number spoofing. So on things like 8x8, unless you own the number, you cannot present the number. Well, not easily. There is a workaround, but we won't go into that. But on here, you can literally present your own mobile number. Yeah, which is, it just crops up so often. It's a real nice feature, I think, that customers need. Now, bear in mind, when you get the call back, it will then ring the mobile. It's not going to ring the phone system because it's your mobile. But it just means you can present that number and indeed any other numbers that you want to present. Yeah, so if you haven't quite taken in a number yet because it's stuck somewhere else, you can still present it, but just bear in mind it may terminate somewhere else. So I think that's really neat. Another one that I like as well is the positioning queue, which is not a feature on a lot of systems. It doesn't give you that option, so that's quite cool as well. That probably gets asked about every other day with various partners. So again, that solves that particular problem. We spent a bit of time looking at soft phone here. Obviously, bear in mind, with the business license, you've got hardware. So for all those customers where hardware is absolutely key, they're quite old school or they don't want to rely on a soft phone, hardware all the way. And they could even have a deck phone. So we covered that in the slide deck, but just to ram that point home that, yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes for me, with you guys where other solutions just don't quite fit. So yeah, Kieran, if you just go into the back end, it's fair to say, guys, this is really feature rich, and it's a double-edged sword. Okay, so you can do a lot with this. You can really get under the bonnet, but equally you need to do the training. So don't just go off and start changing everything. You do need to take a bit of time out. It's got a lot of functionality. You can set it up really simply, so don't be frightened. But equally, if you want to go to town on it and change loads of stuff, you can, much more than other proprietary systems. But I would urge you to do the training. Now, the training is a day. All right, it's a full day, like 9:30 to sort of 4:30 sort of session. But by the end of it, you'll know what you're doing. So if you want to book onto it, let me know. But if you are booking on, please turn up and please pay attention and go through it, because it is a proper day.
Yeah, I'd only really add to that, if you have the opportunity, use it yourselves. Confidence comes from being comfortable using the system. I obviously understand that it's not going to be possible for everybody, but I definitely recommend that. So this is the dashboard. So this is our live system, which I'm lucky enough to have access to. So it might have a few more options than you would normally see. Normally, when you would manage a system, you would then be able to see customers from the top. We've also got a contact center one here, so it actually gives us a little bit more functionality, and that we can live monitor queues of calls. And there's a few more bells and whistles around contact center, like Adam was saying. There's also, you can do things like when someone calls into a queue, if they've got 20 people ahead of them in the queue and the system's telling them that, you can do things like schedule callbacks. That'll maintain the caller's position in a queue, and then also give them a call back when they're ready, because no one likes sitting in a queue these days listening to whatever hold music someone's chosen for them. You can also do things like missed call notifications for queues, which is obviously quite useful for sales teams. On the left-hand side, we've got a nice little monitor panel here. So this shows us all of the users on the platform, what devices they've got connected, what integrations they've got set up. And you can obviously manage people from here. So if I wanted to search for myself, you can see my extension, my user, I'm online, what devices I've got connected. You can also monitor live calls from the platform here, which is quite useful in itself. so I can see who's on the phone. Perhaps you're monitoring your team is sort of keeping an eye on them when they're remotely. Maybe they've been having a longer a chat about the weekend a little bit too long, rather than getting on and answering some sales calls. Then you can play a little bit Big Brother situation from here. You can also monitor apps, which is quite a useful one as well. So we do fairly regularly release software updates for the apps. As you can see, I've got a colleague here who's actually running one of the beta ones, which we wouldn't release on to you before we've tested it. But perhaps she's had a chat with me and said, I keep on experiencing this problem with X, Y, and Z. Well, the beta bit wouldn't apply to you guys, but you could see if she was on a slightly older version, say, actually, you just need to go and update your app there, which can be quite useful for users as well. In terms of sort of pointing and changing the direction of phone numbers, it's quite easy to do from here. So if you just click on DIDs or DDIs, same sort of thing. You can then go and change the destination of numbers from here. So if I bring up my number as an example, at the moment I should press edit at the end. So what I'm doing is if I wanted to change the destination, so I wanted to change it and send it to Sam, for example, I can just type his name in here, find Sam, click save, and that will change the destination of my number. Equally, if I wanted to change that into, like a fax to email number because I was reassigning it, then I could just pop in the email address there, and then that would completely change the, what the number is doing. And it's really that easy. There's obviously, like everywhere throughout the system, there's always loads of advanced options where you can do really clever stuff like, caller ID validation and routing, or set up your operation times that number, or like I showed you earlier on when I received the call through, I got that pre-sales tag there on that call, which can be quite useful when you're receiving calls through from various businesses, or calls have gone through an IVR or gone out of SLA on a certain number, and it goes through and adds that tag. It sort of prepares that agent to pick up the call and know what the call's about. Especially when you're sort of selling into SME areas, you'll often find that there's lots of people within those businesses that might actually have multiple businesses, but really what they want to be able to do is just have one phone system. So why would you want to pay out 5 licenses to different different companies where you can do it on one, and then you can put an optional IVR that adds that tag in there. And equally, like Adam was saying, you can change your outbound caller ID because you might want to be representing different companies. So instead of having to have 5 different lines on your desk phone and then 5 different lots of calls to monitor and keep in charge with, you can then just use one license. So there's definitely a really good economy of scale from there. You can do things like group voicemail, sort of some of the more old-fashioned things here. Obviously, you've got ring groups as well as queues. You can do set up paging groups from here. So, for example, in an opportunity with a school, rather than install a sort of big paging or tannoy system, if you're putting handsets on desks, you could always set that up, and you can set handsets to page out and let everybody know. If there's perhaps an intruder in the building, then you just lock down the classrooms. Slightly dark example there, but I could go through these settings for hours. We've also got the CRM integration set up there, so you can see we've got hours linked up to our Salesforce account. If you were using the standard, bear with me just a second. There we go, archiving storage is what I was trying to look for. If you wanted to archive those call recordings off to another solution, if you were just using the standard included 90 days here, it's something you can self-serve and archive off separately. And it's something, if you wanted to, you could either, further commercialize that on behalf of your customers. This is something that's being offered onto you for free. It's really up to you. So it does give you a lot of control.
I think that's great, Kieran. So yeah, just recapping. For me, it's a really simple proposition, but with a bit of complexity backing it up. Yeah, so it's quite easy to get into. It's a business license. You know the price with hardware or price without, and then you can add on to it depending on customer complexity. So if they need omni-channel down the road, not a problem. If they need to be taking card payments, we can roll that out on a per seat basis rather than having to roll it out for the whole account. And it's just not expensive. We'll cover commercials for all those things sort of separately. As sort of Ollie mentioned in the chat, it probably warrants having individual follow-up so we can go through it in detail. But for me, it's really exciting. I just want to say thank you to Justin and Kieran. Any questions, guys? There's not too much in the chat, but I'm guessing we've covered the basics for you. But just raise your hand or type anything if there's anything you want us to cover, particularly on this session. Justin, did you want to add anything that we've not covered?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, if you want another demonstration presentation or drill a bit deeper on the desktop or mobile apps or whatever, or back end functionality, then we're more than happy to do another session for you guys. But I think we've covered most things, Adam, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, look, most of you on the call sell cloud. It's not rocket science. It's just understanding the proposition, having a couple of different offerings to go into a customer with, and being able to sort of flex accordingly. So, once you understand their requirements, you can then make better recommendations, and this will just add to the portfolio. So for me, it was it was a no-brainer bringing them on board, and we'll hopefully start seeing a few orders coming through. We've got a couple of you on the call already who've went early, who've got orders coming in. So thank you for that. Let's get the training done, guys, and get on with it. But yeah, please just email me if you need anything. Email your channel business manager if you don't want to email me.
Callum's just asked
Here we
a
are,
question.
Callum, all right at the death.
Yeah, there's nothing unusual really, normal sort of firewall settings and so on like that. So we don't sell anything to do with connectivity or anything like that. So obviously,
but we do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what I was just about to add that. But obviously, you partner with Zest for that type of stuff. So yeah, so we're ad hoc when it comes to that. The normal settings, and we can give you the firewall settings and normal stuff like SIP ALG, all that stuff that you'll probably be used to with other VoIP cloud solutions.
Yeah, we have knowledge-based guides to sort of cover that off and talk you through it. Generally, though, it doesn't tend to be a problem, only that the communication of using standard hardware or software is all encrypted anyway, so there's less of a problem because it's encrypted through TLS and SRTP, so both the signaling and the audio is encrypted, so routers, like Justin said, with the SIP LG can cause problems, but if they can't read the packets, they're less likely to cause those sort of issues. But if you're rolling out larger networks, it's always worth putting in some quads rules on there to sort of make sure that they're going to get priority above other traffic where possible.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, you certainly, yes. Callum, you don't need to buy an assured line. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Anything else? No. Give a sort of 30 seconds just in case anyone's typing. I don't think Teams shows me when people are typing. So. I think that is probably about it. Guys, thank you for helping out there. That's really useful. We've got training booked in for October. I think there's a couple of dates floating around. So for those of you that want to get on with this and get trained up, just book yourself on either by, I think there's a link that's gone out on email already, but just ping me if you're not sure, and I'll get you booked on. If there's no more questions, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We'll see you next time.